Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight? Sergeant Toby Williams, Placer County Sheriff's Office. First of all, tasty, very tasty. So,
Diane gets all the credit. She keeps saying, I'll come when you make these cookies. So I made them today for her.
good call. Good call. Nothing too much to report from the last meeting we had 2 weeks ago. We had a kind of a debrief, if you will, of the 3rd of July with members of City Council and some of the stakeholders. And for the most part, collectively, we agreed that it was a pretty good event. Very little problems. We have some things that we'll try to work on for next year to improve traffic flow and some of the efficiency of the parade. But otherwise, it seemed to have gone really, really well. Some arrests of note. We had a DUI arrest from somebody who was doing some burnouts. Started there near the Red Frog, and they located him near Paul's Market, driving around. So they hooked him. He was twice the legal limit. And there was a road rage incident of some sort down off of Iowa Hill Road. I know that's not the city of Colfax, but it still affects a lot of people down there. And we couldn't figure out who the aggressor was because both of them were it was mutual. They decided to ram each other for whatever reason, and none of the stories matched up. So we filed it with the DA. Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. So, so other than that, I don't have anything else. Any questions?
Any questions from council, public? All right, enjoy your vacation.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, CHP. Welcome back from vacation.
Yes, it was really nice. Good evening, everybody. Officer Jason Lyman, Gold Run CHP, Public Information Officer. One of my sergeants, I guess, showed up on the last one to went over some stats and stuff with you. So really the only big things I've got to talk about tonight is the traffic. I mean, the construction is in full swing right now, and it is a nightmare going up the hill and down the hill from the other way there. I know traffic has been backing up, from Gold Run all the way down to Secret Town, Rollins Lake area every day. And that's going to continue probably for at least another week while they're doing a section there, basically just right at our office and going up the hill. And once they're doing some repaving and some culverts and different stuff there, then hopefully 1 to 2 more weeks, that section will be done. Then they'll move up another, 8 or 10 miles and can do the same thing. All it's going to do is just move it up a little bit, but it'll be much easier for us at our office. We can't even get in or out of there right now. And so, but they're working on both directions, east and westbound, and Highway 20 bridge. And then there's more up by Blue Canyon, and then more up by Truckee. And it's just a big summer of construction, and it's going to be going. The main project is from clear down Weimar area all the way up through Blue Canyon. They're working on trying to add that 3rd truck lane up through there, and that's a 3.5 to 4 year project. So they're mostly doing prep work, bridges and different things, so that they got to get all that widened out before they can add any more lane stuff to there. So that's going to be kind of the way things go for a while. But does anybody have any questions for me?
Quick one.
Yes.
Cal Transit's not here. I asked him about the rumble strips there in Weimar. Do you happen to know when they're going to fill those in? Or
no, I do not. I know they didn't fill them. They have them by our office all the way up. You just drive in those things the whole way up through there.
Yeah. It's almost rattling my front fender off.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yes.
I'm wondering, are there contingency plans in case there's some kind of a wildfire? A lot of people be evacuated. Will they be able to clear the roadways and not like that?
They will do the best they can. Yes, they are. That's one of the reasons why they are working in smaller sections and not many, many miles of stuff because it is too hard. Once they get started on something to be able to adjust and pick things up if an emergency arises. So that is kind of how they're doing it. But most of the time even though due to it's coned off down to like one lane, but it's coned off in there and that lane is all full of equipment and trucks and workers and stuff. But that if there was a serious situation, that could be cleared off and moved over pretty quickly if that needed to rise. Mm-hmm.
I know obviously we get the Caltrans emails, so we try to update as much as possible on where their work schedule is and keep the public apprised. And Mr. Shaw from Caltrans was here while you were gone and gave a very detailed report and great PDFs. So we've shared all those with the public to try to keep them well informed as to what's going on. So out of curiosity, was the truck the other day, did his brakes go out? Do we know if that's what the cause was yet?
There is still investigating that. That's what the claim was. So they're looking into that right now, but I don't know for fact if it was truly a brake problem or if it was a driver problem or a combination of the both. They're still looking into that.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Yes. Yes.
Who does stop and who doesn't? That way, when they do have a brake failure, that they can see if that person did stop at those brake checks to pull down the brakes and not have that issue when they come down. Do we know?
No, there is not. Yeah. And the way the law is written on as far as the brake check goes, they're only legally required to pull in there, stop, and then they can go. There is no cool down amount of time. For one reason, if they're say I'm just making totally something up here, but if they said, okay, you have to sit there for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it would be full in 5 minutes. There would be no room for anybody else to park. The main purpose on that is just to get people to pay attention. Okay, I'm getting ready to go over the hill. I've stopped. Okay, now I'm starting. They're not hitting the top of the hill at 70 miles an hour and going over. It's, but thankfully with they've done some tremendous work on the clearing the shoulders and the trees and stuff coming down the hill. And they're still working on that, but it's amazing how much they have done in the last, 6 or 8 months. And that's very hopeful that, there are going to be truck fires. No matter what they do, there are going to be some that are going to happen, but hopefully now there's clearing enough that the truck can burn up without starting the forest on fire. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And CAL FIRE is out on an incident right now and Caltrans is not here and it doesn't look like we have any of our nonprofits for reports tonight. All right. So we don't have any presentations. So we're going to move right on to public comment. So every member of the public has the opportunity to address the city council for comment. You can speak on any item that's not on our agenda. We cannot act, but if we do have something we need to refer to staff, it can be done. So if you'd like to make any public comment, please join us at the podium. Sean's listening to the recordings. Do we have any comments online? We do not? Okay. Yep. Oh, all right. So it doesn't look like we have any public comment today. Oh, we do? Oh, we do? Okay. Who do we have?
We have Jane.
Oh, Jane Gallagher.
Go ahead, Jane. Address council.
Hi, good evening. Yes, I've noticed that the website was updated.
Can you hear us?
About the home hardening project. And at this time it says homes have to be
Can
built
you hear us,
after.
Jane? You can go ahead and
I
address
can hear
council.
you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Jane, feel free to keep trying. Oh. Okay. We will try again if needs be. All right, so let's go to staff, we're at council and staff. I love it when it moves right along. All right, so Sean, what have you got for us?
I had the Pioneer Audit and Finance Committee meeting, one of the extra committees that comes along with being on Pioneer, and we discussed possible funding options for additional community involvement and a couple other projects. And tomorrow is the regular Pioneer Committee meeting, and tomorrow night at City Hall is the Fire Safe Council meeting at 6:00.
Thank you. Kim?
I had no official meeting scheduled, but Gabrielle made a nice flyer concerning our election coming up. And I took it around town and I posted it on different court boards and bulletin boards. And I went over to the high school and junior high school and talked to the superintendents and the presidents and so on. And they said they were going to email this out to get some of their teachers that were interested. So, you know, we're all doing our part to try to spread the word that we need to get a couple candidates to run. Otherwise, it'll be you three here by your lonesome in November. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, we definitely all need to be spreading the word as much as possible. So, all right, Larry?
Yeah, just quickly, I did attend a very short working session of the Railroad Heritage Group, and they're moving forward and figuring out what the plans need to be to move the caboose. Others are more familiar with this than me. I also attended a Sierra Vista Center board meeting, and during that meeting, they formulated a request of getting funds from the Bianchini Fund Capital to make sure that they're able to avail themselves of opportunities that are ahead of them. And the particular reason was to do an audit. That organization hasn't done an audit in the past. And to move forward, it just became time to do a 3-year audit of their finances. And when the Bianchini board took that up, they agreed. And so those funds probably have been allocated already. And they're going to move forward and get an audit of not only the Bianchini Fund, but their books for the last several years. And it's because of transformational opportunity. I'll just say that.
Fantastic. A couple little meetings off and on. I had several with different community members over the last couple of weeks. We are absolutely getting closer and closer to getting that caboose moved with help from some very generous of community members. Went to the VFW. They threw a great 250th birthday party for our country. That was a lot of fun. I did do an interview with KCRA, and they're doing a piece on Sunday, the 26th, in regards to wildfire preparedness. And they wanted to speak to us in regards to the home hardening grant that we're going through. And in regards to that, don't panic. There are people out in vests with name tags handing out flyers in regards to the home hardening grant. So they have been going around door to door. So they're not anybody strange. They are absolutely with us in regards to the grant. They have, I think, last update, there was about 12 contracts that are signed. They've done inspections on probably about 25 homes and have a bunch more lined up. So we're just continuing on through the process. Of those, none of the work has begun yet, but the first steps have been made, and they continue to identify future homes that are available for that. And I think that's about it. So we will move right on to you, Ron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had a conversation with Lieutenant Reniger of the Placer County Sheriff's Office about flock cameras. She is currently compiling some information, and when she gets everything together, we'll schedule her for a report out in person here. Met with Fort Leaf to discuss the FEMA grant. We're starting our first audit. Looks like we're going to jump right through that. They're packaging houses, send them to packaging the number of units to get grant money, and they're sending it to OES. They're being evaluated as we speak. I worked with Carl to inspect the Marvin Avenue pavement. Looks kind of nice up there. Nice to have pavement, not potholes. Maintenance has been replacing dead flowers and hanging pots along Main Street. Working with the skate park contractor to locate the splash pad water lines. Lots of irrigation repairs just that time of year in city parks, and lots of vegetation control. And that's what I have.
Thank you very much. So we'll move right on to council business. The first item on council business this evening is the consideration. There's lots of levels to this, but to recombine the economic development and community support and events appropriation into a single budget line item. City manager, you want to go ahead and start with that?
Sure. This item is a carryover from the July 8th City Council meeting. Staff is requesting council provide direction on whether to proceed with the options in the staff report. A, keeping existing funding adopted in the budget intact with 15,000 Department 110 city. And then the other part in the economic development, another 15,000 central services and events. So just a split up. B, recombine both 15,000 and the separate line items back together into one for economic development like it's been in the past, or a completely different alternative to reallocate the $30,000 budget adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a couple of different levels to this particular conversation. And the original one was when we did the budget, we made the proposal of separating out, and the number that was thrown out was $15,000. And the proposal, I believe it was Sean who had picked the numbers. I could be wrong. It might have been Trinity, but to make a dedicated amount for the 3 primary events in town. I believe it was 7,500 to the 3rd of July, because that's the biggest attended one and the biggest bill. I believe it was 5,000 to Winterfest, and then that left 2,500 for Railroad Days, I believe is what the proposal had been on those dollar amounts. And so that portion of those funds would get pulled separately and be allotted to those particular 3 events, leaving the other 15,000 for the economic development with our nonprofits. And we knew we were going to go back and discuss how people would apply for that and how that was going to be used. So this conversation right now is just about if we're going to keep those funds separate, the 15,000 for those 3 events, and if we're happy with the division of funding on that, or if we want to put them back into one chunk, or what other options we have. So with that explanation, I think we'll go ahead and start with comments from the public first, because this conversation could go multiple directions. So we'll start with comments from the public if they would like to make any, and if not, we'll go ahead and go to the council. All right. We will start with you guys with thoughts, comments.
I do have strong feelings indeed. First, I want to say that the people that are listening to the meeting online can hear Jane. It's only us that can't. So this is what happened to us before, I think. So just a comment, I don't know the technology well enough to know why, but they could hear her, and it's only us that cannot.
Okay, we will definitely look into that. I had messaged her and asked about what her question was, and it was about the home hardening grant. So I was able to answer most of her questions right there. So we will look on the tech side and see what we can find. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to hear what she has to say.
Well, we'll go back to that if needs be. I can read her question later. So let's move forward on the economic development.
Here's my memory of what happened, and I believe it to be accurate. We had a workshop on the budget, and what was presented to us was a $30,000 economic development fund in the same place it was in last year's budget. That's what was presented to us. I have a different memory of
All right, we're going to test the audio. Can it be heard? Test the audio. It's not bad. Okay. I mean, a delay is relatively normal, so I think, should we give it a try? Hopefully we can get some thumbs up that yes, this is working again for us all. It's fun when people message us when we have challenges, right? All right, Andrea Harrison says it's back. All right, so we're going to continue on. Sean.
Anyway, so I think that was the intention behind separating the funds, is because it sets that dollar amount specifically for those 3 events. And then we have the other pot of money to do what we need to with.
I want to go ahead and address one portion of it. And in California, on the Brown, with the way the Brown Act is written, in an actual publicly noticed workshop, council is allowed to give direction to staff. And that's what we gave. We gave direction, and that was brought back at a council meeting with those changes for us in turn to make a vote at. So it's absolutely in the law that we are allowed to give staff as long as the workshop is properly noticed, which it was. And we gave direction. We didn't make any final decisions or anything. There were direction that was given. They followed that, and then that came back for a vote at a regular meeting at that point. So just to clarify that point, it was absolutely following the structure that we're given in the rules.
I have a different memory. I don't believe we gave any instruction to staff during that meeting. We just stopped talking about it and we went on. Now, sadly, we don't record those meetings, so we have no way to know. But I don't believe we gave any direction to staff. I think that had to have come later. And I'd also like to understand from the mayor, I know you feel strongly about earmarking money for events. I would like to know why you feel strongly about that.
There's multiple levels to that. First off, the events themselves, the 3 primary ones that we're speaking of, are what bring the most people into our community and introduce our community to our visitors. And that they also get our, these visitors into downtown, which is one of the questions we've all heard for many, many years. How do we get people downtown? So those 3 events are the number one source of introducing the community to visitors. In addition to that, the organizations that have always run them have always done it based on donorship. They don't make any profit out of it. Really, they get a lot of headache that goes right along with it. And that's what it is. And as a city, we need to support events that are going to bring people into our town. That is one of the things that, we don't have an economic development department. We don't have a parks and rec department to run events. So we do rely on all of our nonprofits to run those things for us. And this is how we are able to support those. Obviously, some of the bigger events we do support with some staff hours. That is part of the way it works. We do include staff time for, the 3rd of July, and for Winterfest has always included staff time and to help keep things up and running smoothly for it. Railroad days, with me running it, we do not ask to have extra staff on time. They're usually there first thing in the morning in case we need anything to be, set up or plugged in, but they don't stay for that. But I think part of our job is to support our nonprofits and support the introduction of our community to visitors. And that's how you put your best foot forward. When you bring a whole bunch of people to your house, you would want to be able to provide that. And, whether that means you're paying for a house cleaner because you're hosting 40 people for Thanksgiving, that's how the city is able to support those events, because we don't have an economic development department or a parks and rec to run events for us.
So I think what you said is the events are more important than the other nonprofits, that they don't bring any people into town?
No, that's not what I said. You asked why I felt that the events were important to be able to fund, and that's what I'm answering, is that particular piece. There are multiple layers to this. The reason that I think it's a wise idea to separate the funds is to truly be more transparent and honest about what funding is available for use. You know, the bigger events, it makes sense that they get a bigger slice of the pie in essence. You know, and that also doesn't mean that those events always will take that money. They may say, nope, I'm good. I got it all covered in donations. We don't need any of it. You know, last year, the 3rd of July asked for an initial amount, and when they came, they dropped that number because they had been able to do more on the fundraising for it. But I think it is very helpful for people to know they're not going to be up competing against those larger events. If we have one of the smaller organizations and they're doing a smaller event that's not going to bring in 16,000 people, they're not going to be competing for those funds because now we have completely separated them. Those 3 events, and if there were more, if all of a sudden there was a 4th event that was just as big, we would absolutely be able to reconsider what we were looking at. But this way, those smaller events that other organizations are hosting, they have a better idea of what they have at their disposal, and they're not going to be competing for the funds because those funds are separated out. It's no longer who got there first or who asked for more money or who did this or that.
I'm not even sure what all you said there, but I will say this. So you feel strongly enough about it. I guess that means that over the last 2 years, when we, over the course of the year, allocated from that $30,000, including events and including other things, do you think we did a bad job of it and that we should change it? Why should we change it? That's what I'm trying to get at, because maybe Sean has a thought about that too. I don't see a need to change it.
The money's there in the pots. I think the good reason to separate it would just be that you set that expectation. You know that those 3 events are only going to getting that amount unless they have a specific need for something more, where we need to say, okay, like we did for the 250th, we wanted to make sure that we did the fireworks right, and we went ahead and approved a little bit more money even than what they're asking for to make sure that we covered what needed to happen. But it basically just sets that line item for us. It basically just says, we know we're going to spend on these 3 events, and this is the cap that we've put on that. It's more of a capping without special circumstance, as opposed to having it be a whole pot and then it be every nonprofit competing against it. We can take the other 15 grand and other nonprofits can know that that's out there. And as always, if we have another nonprofit need that we feel needs to be taken care of, we can vote to do that and modify the budget at a later date. We can add more money to that mid-year budget adjustment so we can just go ahead and change that if we know we're going to fall behind and we expect other nonprofits to come and ask. I don't think the idea behind this is to cut off any nonprofits or to limit the amount of money that any other nonprofit is going to get. I think it's more controlling spending on the 3 large events.
And if I can answer your question as to what's changed, because I absolutely understand that point that we're talking about shifting the way we've been doing things for the last 3.5 years that you and I have been sitting here, and even longer for these gentlemen. What's changed is there's more things happening. And that's truly it. And it's a wonderful thing. There are now more events happening, more groups hosting, more things happening. So now that there's more people that are coming and looking for the city's support, we need to make it a system of application that not only do they know exactly how much there is and that they're not working against those large organizations, but to form an application process and the requirements of what they need to provide, both when they make the request and the follow-up as well. I've done a lot of digging in the last 6 weeks or so in regards to other communities and similar programs that they have, and it's a grant. That's what we're doing. We're providing a grant. So they're with that thought process and more people being interested in it because more things are happening, that would mean let's treat it like a real grant where we have an application, we have specific things we ask from all the organizations, we have, things that the money can be used for or couldn't be used for, what type of events or things per se, who they're available to. The more we do also need to do our job and make sure those funds are being treated properly and all of the organizations are doing what's in the best interest of the community as a whole.
So I disagree. I do not believe that we need to earmark some of the money. And one way or another, both of you made the point, that the events are more important than the others, and that we should stake that money aside because of all the good that they do. That's basically what you said. And I don't agree, but I have the right to disagree.
That's kind of the opposite of what I was saying. I was saying I want to earmark that money so that it sets a cap so that we can make sure we have enough for the other nonprofits.
Remember what happened for 3rd of July, right? We allocated $10,000 when they asked for 5 because we still had some left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't have another nonprofit that came and asked for that money, but had another nonprofit come and ask for the money and we not had the 10 grand, then we would have been able to offer that.
So we ended up with over $20,000 worth of fireworks, which was really nice. But that money is gone, isn't it? A lot of nice bright lights in the sky, and I enjoyed it too, but I don't want to go there. I don't agree that we need to earmark and separate that in the budget. I believe we should do what we did in other years. So I'm not gonna go on and say any more about that.
Okay.
Kim, do you have any thoughts? You've been pretty quiet.
We only have a couple weeks for people to decide whether they want to, run for office here. And when they look in at our meetings, we have to make sure that all of us conduct ourselves in a way that they will want to be proud to be part of city government. So that's just an indirect comment. That's all.
Okay. Does anybody have any concerns if I go ahead and open it up back to the public now that we've made some comments? Just in the event, are you guys okay with that? Okay, does any of the public like to make a comment at this point now that you've heard some of our conversations?
So to make this clear, I don't have a preference which way it goes. Either way, nonprofits are going to come to you for the money and you're going to decide what to give us. And hopefully, like the first year, we came to you for 7.5, ended up taking 6.5 out of it. This year we came to you for 5 because it was such a big event. You offered 10, which made our event special. I know it went boom and that was it, but we put on one heck of a celebration that brought 16,000 people to our city. Those people, the feedback that we got from them is they will be back. They will be coming into our community. They will be spending their money. In fact, some already have. People from out of town that came with other families that live in town will be back. We were approached several times throughout the first week after the event saying they would be back. I don't think anybody's saying that one event is more important than the other, because it's not. I think all the events that we are putting on and the more events we are putting on, which I think our city has stepped up in the last 2 years and has really gotten together and put on some great events. And I think they're growing, and I think we're going to see a lot more growth. I don't think anybody's saying, that's not what I'm hearing, that one event's more special than the other. I do understand that, so next year I come in, I know where I sit. I know what I can ask for. I know where, if circumstances change and I could possibly ask for more than that, or I could possibly not. What happens to the money if I don't ask for that much that's set aside? It goes back into fund more other nonprofits. Is that my understanding? So it's not really like we're being chastised for that. We're not saying the other events aren't as important. They will have the opportunity to ask for that money too. I may not ask for that much money. Hopefully fundraising goes better next year and we have more opportunity to fundraise, which 3 of our fundraisers we did not get to do. So, I don't have a preference how you guys vote on this, but I do want you to understand that there is nobody saying that one event's more important than the next. I think we're trying to, from what I understand, is trying to put a cap on the bigger events so that we're not taking that money away from the smaller events. Is that what I'm understanding?
No,
Okay.
not smaller events. That's not what I said.
Okay.
Well,
Let's-
other events, okay, I'm,
No,
you
there are
know,
other
okay,
nonprofits.
we're not going to
other
dialogue
events.
back and forth, so.
yeah, other
ahead.
nonprofits.
I'd like to make one point.
Okay,
Last
when we
year,
bring it back to the council, you absolutely can. Let's finish the
Okay.
public comment, please.
So anyways, that's what my understanding is. I personally, as the 3rd of July event coordinator, I don't see a preference here. I don't care how you guys vote on this. I just want you to understand that. Hopefully, we can all see things grow in this town and all the nonprofits get a chance at what the city has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do we have any other commentary from the public? Okay, come right on up, Deborah. Thank you.
Was there somebody else that wanted to?
Nope. No, go right ahead.
All right, my name's Deborah. I live in town. What Carolyn was saying about making the applications for funding for nonprofit events be handled in something like a grant makes a good deal of sense to me, so that there are mutual expectations of what the money is going to be spent on, and they're checkable. I would think that it would go without saying, but since it wasn't said, I'm going to ask, does that grant, the proposed setup for the paperwork that's going to be done for the other 15,000, also would that same requirement apply to the 3 events that we're talking about? I see you nodding your head, right? Is that true?
I'm going to say that one, we can fine tune that.
How, follow up? Okay. Events that have been going on for a while and are repeated every year probably have some idea of how they budget and what they need. So I would think that they would actually have an easier, possibly have it as easy, if not easier, ability to fill out that kind of an application than events that are being done by other organizations if they don't do them every year. So I think the split here is not between the size of the event and money spent, but all over whether it's something that's been done by the same organization repeatedly or whether it's a fairly new one. So is there any reason why the events that are having money earmarked for them would not also be expected to make the statements about where the money is going to go from, the same as the ones in the other the pot of 15,000 that isn't allocated?
We'll answer it when we come back to discussion. For you.
Okay, all right. Well, that's just a question that had occurred to me. Apart from that, I don't have an opinion on any of this because I don't know enough about it. But I'm wondering, in terms of the 15,000 that hasn't been allocated, and that groups are going to need to come apply for over the course of the year, whether having that done one at a time takes up a great deal of the city council's time at meetings, if it's done as they come up rather than being done on a quarterly basis or at the beginning of the year or something like that. And again, that's something you probably can't answer off the top of your head. But I can see that one advantage of having some earmarked funds already in as line items is that it might save some time figuring out what to do at meetings. there's also drawbacks to that, because if somebody comes up with a great idea later in the year, they might have to wait until the following year before they could apply for the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Do we have any other public comment? Do we have any comment online if we're going to attempt? Okay. All right, just to address Deborah's question, I personally think that if we were to separate it, that yes, the 3 main events would still fill out, whatever application form we have and whatever requirements. There's no reason they should be exempt from that process, in my opinion. I did have, like I said, it's 2 separate arguments, but I did, in my research, I printed out an application that had the basic information that would be asked for that I've dug up. So we can go through that later. And in regards to if we keep it separate, if we were to create deadlines, I think that's something also we would discuss as we reformulate how it's done. Because no matter what, we know we want to change the application process. I think we've all talked about that. So now we're right back to this. Do we keep it as one line item and everything's still in the same pot? Or do we want to keep it separate? And then after we make that decision, we'll figure out when we want to go through discussing the application process.
I'd like to make one more comment. I think Deborah made a great introduction to what my summary is going to be. And by creating separate allocations, we've created 2 different classes. We've created 2 different classes of people. Some that are going to get their allocation because we earmarked it ahead of time, and some that have to ask for it. And I think one line item of $30,000 means a level playing field, not one that was set up by the council to be as the council preferred. I would like to make those decisions over the course of the year. I don't think we need 2 different classes of people asking for help. So I won't say any more than that. I'm done.
Again, I don't think it's trying to separate classes. I think it's that we have 3 known donations going to events that are annual. So we know we can plan that.
And that doesn't separate them?
If you wanted to like even say we've done the summer concert series 3 times, you want to add in that allocation for that too, because you know that there's going to be an ask for that every year at that point. Add that in, say you've got your main events that are attracting the most people that we know for a fact are going to need this amount of money every year or close to it, unless they can meet their fundraising goals, or this is what the city is planning on putting in for these, so that they have an expectation for those fundraising goals, because those, especially those 3 events, they take the most money to operate. And we know a general idea of what they cost and what the costs are going to go up every year. So they have a good ability to plan that. For most of the other nonprofits, it's more of a, we have this project and we have this opportunity. Can we get funding? So I don't think I think it's more of just planning, really. It's just budget planning to have it in a line item and separate, because those are planned, known expenses that are coming up every single year. But every nonprofit has the opportunity to come to us at any time and ask for funding. So.
And just to clarify too, Larry, I think when this was originally discussed, it wasn't that money was automatically given to those 3 events. They still had to come and apply and request it. It wasn't an automatic, without a doubt, here, we're just going to cut them a check. So they would still go through that same process. But we were just saying, like as Sean has said, we're capping those 3 events at a dollar amount.
I don't know how to respond to that. I think that it would be an automatic thing, would it not? That's why we earmark things. And I want to say one more thing. Last year, I had to beg to find out how 3rd of July ended up. And we eventually learned that it made a profit of $7,000. And that money was retained for this year to run the event again. And that seems fair, I guess, that they do that. This year, it's pretty clear that the profits are going to be higher than that, just by walking the streets. They're going to be a lot higher. And it's my understanding that what Auburn did in this case, and I might have this wrong, but Auburn, the city council allocated $10,000 for fireworks, but donations made for fireworks went back to the city. And that's quite a different way of operating. And we'd have a choice of doing it that way also. But one of the things I will insist upon this year, because we didn't get it last year, I asked for it, was an accounting of, not every line item, I don't care about that, but the total expenses and the total income of the 3rd of July, just so we have a handle on that. And we didn't get it last year, and it probably is a little soon to expect it this year, but I would expect it by the time we have another meeting.
Yeah, we can, we definitely got off topic. Are you, Caroline, are you okay if I answer some of this? I don't want to speak for you. So I'm going to ask you a question. With what you saw from the event, where do you think the profit for the 3rd of July was coming from? Where do you think they were making the money?
I just saw a lot of people here. I think actually, if it comes right down to it, most of the money that was taken in during the 4th of July or during the 3rd of July left town. It left town with food trucks, and it left town with vendors. And they paid for that privilege. But that's where the money went. And is that okay? I don't know. I'm not going to judge that because I don't have the overall picture. But most of the money leaves town. And the money that's retained in this town, a lot of it goes to the junk food places and leaves town as well. And I also know that there were several businesses downtown that did extremely well that day. And that's wonderful. But we've invested a lot of money for those 4 businesses or so to make that money. And I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not so sure. We have to decide that as a city. Is that what we want to do? Do we want to spend all that money for, 4 or 5 businesses? I don't know.
Well, that would be up to the businesses who choose to be open during the event. They make that call themselves. That's not something that we would get involved with. Each of those businesses makes their decision on to be open. But that being said, we're getting completely sidetracked at this point. So
I
we
don't
need to
think
go
so.
back. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion then, because I think we've kind of gone rounds and rounds on this. So can we get a motion either way if we are going to, a motion to either keep it separate or to keep it combined, whichever direction?
I'll make a motion that we separate the 2 funds and keep 15,000 for our 3 primary events and allocate the other 15,000 as needed.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Do we have a second? Do I get to second a motion?
Sure. You sure can.
Then I'm going to second the motion.
Just for my notes here,
Mhm.
this is 3rd of July, Winterfest.
Railroad days. Yep.
Okay. Just for transparency, I think we're going to go ahead and call for a roll call vote, please, Gabby.
Okay. Councilmember Douglas,
Yes.
Councilmember Lohman,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hilberg,
No.
Mayor McCauley.
Aye.
Passes 3-1.
Thank you very much.
I want to add that this is what I hoped for. I wanted that decision to be made in public by our council in front of the public.
Fortunately,
And
that's what we did.
yep, we have to stand behind our
Okay.
votes.
So I will request that at a later item, we come back with an agenda item of how to go through the application process for the nonprofits. So we'll just put that on a note for a future meeting so we can get that up and running. All right, we will keep moving right along. We are into 8B, which is the adoption of the sales tax and resolution submitting the measure to the voters. And I believe, City Attorney, that's going to be yours.
This one is mine. This is back on the agenda for second reading and adoption. This is a tax measure that council asked staff to bring forward. It would impose a 1% transactions and use tax dedicated to streets and roadway maintenance. I don't know if there's anything else I need to say about this. We discussed it last time. There are two actions the council needs to take to move forward with this. First, a supermajority of the council or 4 out of 5 members needs to vote in favor of adopting the measure. That's the threshold for adopting it. If you do choose to move forward with the tax ordinance, I would recommend adopting a resolution calling an election and asking the Placer County Elections Office to run the election. So that would be the second action for the council to take tonight, is adopt the resolution calling the election and consolidating it with the November, it's November 3rd this year, general, I believe. So those are the two items before the council. The resolution, there is one other piece of this, I'm sorry. The resolution authorizes the city council to prepare an argument in favor. I know the mayor is already working on that, but there are a couple of ways the council could go about it. You could designate one person to do the ballot argument. You could request that a person bring an argument back and the entire council could sign it. I would recommend doing that at a notice meeting. You could designate a council member to partner with outside organization, the chamber, something like that. But that's part of this resolution, is authorizing the council to prepare an argument in favor. The resolution has argument deadlines in it. Deadline to submit an argument in favor to the city clerk is July 31st, coming right up. The deadline to submit, I'm sorry. The argument in favor will be available for review until August 7th, and then the deadline to submit rebuttals to the primary arguments is going to be August 13th. I think that's the gist of it. I'm happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Okay, thank you, Connor. We'll open it first to public question or public comment in regards to the sales tax measure. Do we have any comments online? Okay, we will bring it to the council for questions, comments, or a motion.
I like what Connor said. I think it's the exact right thing that we should do. We should put it on the ballot for the public to decide. And I support it totally. We just need to keep the schedule that's required to get the arguments out there. But I'm fully in favor.
I think you look very thoughtful.
Oh, I just wanted to remind everybody that you have to be in the city limits to vote. And so that should be, pointed out in the brochure to remind people that it's, and that we're going to get $1.8 million each year, ideally. So that's all.
Right, so then we have two different motions that we need to have made. Do I have somebody that would like to make the first one?
I make a motion to adopt the measure as written.
Does that work for you, Connor?
Is that close enough?
Yeah, close enough. I would, a motion to waive second reading and adopt the ordinance.
Yes. Motion
I second it.
Lohman, Hilberg.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so then we need a second motion to allow the county to facilitate the ballot measure in the election for us.
So a motion to adopt the resolution calling an election.
So moved.
Second.
Is that Hilberg?
Yeah. Hilberg and Douglas. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. In regards to the argument in favor that we would put on the ballot, I had worked up a rough draft for it, and I did send it to Connor. Maybe if you want to email that out to the council members and let them look at it, if they think there's any suggestions for changes, I don't know. I can also read it. We could deal with it right now.
I would feel more comfortable doing that rather than being a hub and you risk doing a hub and spoke meeting.
Okay.
If I'm the point of.
So, yeah, I had put together, it's not short enough, so we are going to have Connor pare it down a little bit. But it was basically the argument that we would put in the ballot so people could read why we wanted to do it. Why we were putting the tax measure in there. So I had put that together. Hold on, it's going to take me 2 seconds to pull it back up. But if you guys are okay with it, I'll just go ahead and read to you what I had written. And if there's anything that you think is important to add to it or take out of it, Connor can take notes and then send it back out after that. But it will have to get shortened from what I had originally.
I'm okay with that, but I'm not really willing to approve it or disapprove it until it goes through Connor and I get it in writing.
Oh, yeah.
It's too hard to remember things in public like this. I need to read them and comprehend them.
We need to submit this to the city clerk by July 31st. So there's not time to hold another public meeting before then. The best way to go about this would be to circulate Caroline's draft now. If you'd like some time to read it, we can call a short recess and you can provide me you can take the time to read it and provide some feedback. My concern here is facilitating an unnoticed meeting in violation of the Brown Act. So I'd like to get it done tonight if possible. Does that concern make sense, Councilmember Hilberg? Okay.
Well, given where we are, yes, but it would have been nice to have it already.
Best laid plans of mice and men. So I'll go ahead and read it and then we can make any suggestions. And then if you want, we could probably have Gabby print off a couple of copies and take a recess to look at it if we want to do that. Oh, did they already print it? Oh, there you go. There's a printed copy. Okay. But yeah, we will, make any suggestions that you guys think should be added or taken out. And then Connor will be able to shorten it back down because it is technically a little too long right now. But what we have on there so far, it starts with investing in the roads we all depend on. Every day we rely on Colfax's streets, roads, and sidewalks to get to work, school, local businesses, parks, and our homes. These vital pieces of infrastructure connect our community, but years of increasing cost and declining outside funding have made it increasingly difficult to keep up with needed repairs. A proposed 1% special sales tax would provide a dedicated local funding source to help restore and maintain Colfax's streets, roads, and sidewalks. Unlike a general tax, this is a special tax. By law, the revenue can only be used for street, road, and sidewalk repair and maintenance. It cannot be diverted to other city programs, salaries, or unrelated projects. To provide additional transparency and accountability, the measure would establish a community oversight committee. This committee would help ensure that the funds are spent exactly as promised and that residents can see how their tax dollars are improving our infrastructure. One of the greatest advantages of a local sales tax is that everyone who shops in Colfax contributes, not just residents. Hundreds of thousands of travelers exit Interstate 80 each year to fuel up, dine, shop, and visit local businesses. These visitors also contribute to the wear and tear on our streets. A local sales tax allows those who use our roads while visiting Colfax to help pay for maintaining them, reducing the burden on local residents alone. For many years, the city has worked hard to secure state and federal grant funding for road improvements. Those grants have helped complete important projects without asking local taxpayers for additional revenue. Unfortunately, many of those funding opportunities have been significantly reduced or are no longer available, leaving communities like ours with fewer options to address aging infrastructure. It's also important to note that Colfax has not previously asked voters to approve local tax measures to support city services or infrastructure. This proposal represents a carefully considered response to changing financial realities and the growing need to maintain the roads and sidewalks our community depends on every day. Investing in our infrastructure is an investment in public safety, economic vitality, and quality of life. well-maintained streets, improve emergency response times, support local businesses, enhance property values, and create an environment for drivers. Sorry, my computer just went weird. All right. And create a safer environment for drivers, cyclists, pedestrians, and families. This measure keeps local dollars in Colfax, ensuring they are used only for their intended purposes and provides community oversight every step of the way. It is an opportunity to preserve and improve the infrastructure that serves residents, businesses, and visitors alike for today and for future generations. So, comments, requested additions or subtractions?
Well, no additions, but I would say that, how many words is this and how many are we allowed?
This is, I threw it in the machines to count it. It's 427 and I believe it was 350? 300. So we'll take out some of the fluff.
Yeah, there's a lot of fluff. We need a good journalist.
Yeah. Well,
I know.
I wrote it
I
more
happen to know one that's in the room even.
I definitely wrote it more for community spread the word and the information. So I know some of the fluff will come out.
Yeah, some of the fluff needs to come out.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything you think needs to be added to it?
No, I think it's well written. Excuse me, it's well written. There's just more there than what's needed. We've been a bit redundant, you know.
Definitely something that we're distributing in the public is going to be very different than what we're putting in the ballots. So that's what it was written for. So, all right, Kim, did you have any requests?
I took it and I changed it.
You changed it? All right.
But you don't have to read it. I just, for you to look at it.
I'll give it to the man who Kim's has pictures on it of our favorite potholes. Sean, any commentary? Oh, go get a cookie. Sorry. Soft ginger snaps this evening. Sorry. I personally would be happy if we give Connor Kim's version and mine and leave it to his expertise to pare it down and submit it, and then just give us a copy once it's over and done. I personally don't feel that I need to see it again.
My recommendation, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's not a problem. I can get this down to 300 words and then forward it on to our city clerk.
Okay. Okay. Do you need an official motion for that, or is that just staff direction?
No, I can just take that direction.
Okay. You guys are good with that?
I'm okay. I mean, I picked out a lot of things I think we could take out, but I trust Connor can do it as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, so we have the two motions and directions on the ballot additions, so I think we're good on that one. We already did public comment on that. Okay. All right, so that's all passed. We're AB. We are down to good of the order. No, Sean got nothing because he
Nothing tonight.
not needing a cookie. All right, Kim?
Okay, well, elections coming up. We have 3 openings. And it's time for a quote from Plato. Believe it or not, it was Plato who said, "Those who do not want to get involved in government will be ruled by their inferiors." So, run for city council.
I'll just repeat the one I mentioned the last 2 good of the orders, and that's that I want to agendize the flock camera situation. And I heard from Ron that he's getting started on that, and I think it's mandatory that gets in front of the public. And then the other request that I made before, I should have done at this time. I'm interested that when we passed out significant money to an organization, that organization owes us the results of that donation. And we haven't asked for that in the past. So from here forward, and starting with this fiscal year, which started July 1st, I think it should be mandatory. You know, what was the effect? And that's all for now. I have others. I want to say one more thing. Not ready to agendize this yet, but I have spoken to dozens and dozens and dozens of people, actually the other way around, that have spoken to me about what used to be a tree out in front of City Hall. And I've done a lot of research. I'm going to do some more. I think that we need to do we need to look into that and hopefully come up with a better plan than what we did, but not ready to ask for agendizing it yet.
Sean, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I did have one thing. I'd like to see on the agenda to go ahead and or see us agendize setting up the funding process for the nonprofits out of the fund. So if we could put that on there, that way we set up good parameters and make sure we're all good with how we're going to do it. Before we start passing everything out, I think we can get it in the next meeting.
Now that you've brought that up,
Okay.
I agree with that. And because we ought to maintain the ability to say no to anybody.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys take one of these here. This is basically an application for grant funding that has the different pieces from different organizations that I just did digging across the country. So it's at least it's a rough draft to start with. So you guys can take a peek at that. And yes, that will definitely end up on a future item. I also wanted to propose we'll know more by the end of next week, but at this time, it does not look like there is a lot for our agenda for our August 12th meeting. So if anything does not come up in the next week and a half, I'm going to propose that we cancel the August 12th meeting. I know normally we take a July meeting off and that didn't happen this year. So unless something very pressing comes up, I'm going to leave that in the city manager's hands to let us know if we can go ahead and cancel the August 12th meeting. So we'll get that one off. In addition to that one, for the following meeting after that, I am requesting that the council handbook be on our agenda so that, and if the sooner I believe it has already been sent out to all council members to review. It has. So I would like to have that put on the agenda so that we can get that approved or make any changes that they're requesting. Because I know some of the challenges we have are addressed in that particular handbook. And then just to clarify, because the trees keep coming up into conversation, just to clarify that our city manager was absolutely within his job description to make the decisions that he did. In regards to that tree and its handling, it does not something that has to come to the council. And as those on social media saw today, that they got the heads up that there are additional trees that are going to be removed, both for infrastructure protection and for additional projects that are happening in the community. So they all got the heads up that that's happening. And I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else. So any public comment in regards to our good of the order? Any public comment online? Nope. All right. We do have a closed session item. So I will ask if there's any public comment on our closed session item. Oh, and I want to thank Recology for coming. You were part of our consent calendar, so we didn't even have to have you come up. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. Hopefully got some cookies, and we appreciate your time to come over and your support of our community. So thank you very much. All right, so if we don't have any public comment on our closed item, we will go ahead and close our public session. We'll take a 5-minute recess and come back and handle the closed item. So thank you very much.